Okay, I'm going to call a meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask for a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you for everybody that's here and everybody who's watching or will be watching. I'll call the roll call now. Commissioner KAAZ will be out. I'll start with Commissioner Culbertson.
Here.
Mike Smith here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike STIEBEN.
Here.
Okay. Public comment. I don't think we had anything from the audience. Mark, did you have anything? Okay. Commissioners, y'all have anything on administrative business?
Just one. I had one item, Mr. Chairman. We talked at our joint meeting with the city about having administrator kind of put together a date for the larger joint meeting with all the taxing entities. I just wondered if we would have him go ahead and proceed with the letter, trying to find out and identify dates for that.
Are you talking about all the cities together, the school districts, and township boards?
Well, we'll invite all the taxing.
We'll just invite all taxing entities?
And maybe not all of them would show up, but I sure hope the larger ones will.
Where would we hold this at?
Probably Riverfront would be big enough.
Okay.
Or you could do it at Lansing Community Center.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty good size.
I think we could find a site. On that same note, if it's all right with all commissioners, we've got Lansing set for May 26th at their place for our joint meeting. I don't know if it's going to be 6 or 7. I've asked them for 6, but they're supposed to let me know, but we got time on that. Just want to throw that out there, too.
Well,
I didn't know if we wanted to, we don't have to, but I didn't know if we wanted to talk to other cities before we had that large one, or if we wanted just to do that. What's everybody's thought on that?
We just need to get that larger meeting set before budget time. That's the main constraint.
That's what's going to be the difficult thing.
Okay.
And how are we going to do this about public notice for all these meetings? I guess that's a legal question.
Well, you publish notice in your official county newspaper.
Would each city or school district, I'd have to do the same?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why it's going to take a little while to get this set up.
June 1st is when valuations, or
Drop dead value that we have.
Yeah, and so I think that you want to think about that. By July 15th, we have to send out the revenue neutral notices. And so I think that you have to consider the timing. And I did not mean to interrupt. But
No, I mean,
so maybe in June, middle of June, or end of
your
June.
office is going to be kind of the main. I don't even want to be around your office between July and primary. I promise you, I won't drop in. I can guarantee you that.
Well,
you guys are
always
your
glad
office is going to be. You're just going to be swamped with the revenue neutral and the primary elections. The new districting, the maps for redistricting. And
Quite a few things to play. Yeah.
So I'd say, I don't think you have to wait till we know what the total valuation is going to be before we'd have this meeting.
So middle. Maybe we could ask the other, kind of reach out and see sometime in
it's going to be
June.
a scheduling nightmare.
That might be a good idea. Reach out to see if there's a month or time that works better for everybody. At least it's a starting point.
Maybe give a couple suggested dates or something.
Well, I think I'd just like to maybe point out a few numbers that the clerk actually shared with me. There's roughly 40 taxing districts in the county and 130 elected officials. So I think that trying to reach out and get each one of them to come up with a date, you likely will never settle on a date. You'd probably be better off picking a date and sending an invitation, and those that can make it can make it. Otherwise, it will be back and forth, and it'll take us a year to try to schedule.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Something else you might even consider, like especially with the school districts, reach out to the superintendent, possibly, as a starting point also, because they're the ones that prepare the budget. And the other thing, the same with some of the finance officers with the cities. Just a suggestion, because it would be very hard to get everybody in one room. So you may want to consider just the people that prepare the budgets first. But
there's a lot of folks that have come together at one time trying to get a meaningful meeting. Yeah.
Well, if you maybe we just have Mark reach out and see.
I like the idea, Mike, but I think having so many people in one area, what we can get accomplished, I'm not so sure there shouldn't be another breakout or go with limited people like we're hearing with the people that do the budget and still have the meetings with the elected officials, because you get half those people to show up, and then it's an open meeting and thing, and I think we need to get out there and be that. But that's a lot of number to try to get something accomplished on.
Well, and it could be that just like for each school district, there's just one representative that's going to be the person that's going to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I go ahead.
I think it's way too difficult to, because I even sent Mark a number of how many elected officials that would be. And, sometimes you have so many people speaking at once that it can make it a little more difficult also.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. I've been part of those things. That's why I'm saying you don't get anything accomplished, because you've got everybody, and especially if there's an issue that's controversial that you want to talk to. I think the whole reason to get this started was to reach out to the large taxing entities that you see on the reports that we see coming out, and the schools are one of the top ones, and the cities. I'm not saying we should break it down, but we need to think about this, because this may not turn out the way we wanted it to, because we may not be able to get everybody to have the opportunity to speak and things like that. But that's a lot of folks. We'd have to have it at school probably, or auditorium or something.
Well, if we narrow it down to the largest taxing entities, the county, the cities, the school districts, that's still a lot of entities, but it does narrow it down.
And not do the township boards.
Well, we could always do the township boards on a separate one if we needed to. I'm just trying to get something that we can get something accomplished besides just having a meeting.
Well, and if you had this larger meeting and everybody kind of came to consensus that we were going to have a certain goal in mind on the property taxes, we could actually put a letter out to the townships.
Well, we prepare all the township budgets, right in our office. And let me tell you, all the township officers are very cognitive to keep taxes lower. So, I don't know if it's necessary to reach out to the township officers. Of course, that's your prerogative, but they are done in our office, and we have one-on-one meetings with them, and they see firsthand what the revenue neutral rate is. They see exactly the dollars that will generate, and then any increase in mills. Well, theirs would never be like a whole mill. It's only would only be a partial. But,
but they're going to have a difficult time this year also trying to hold the line, because basically it's the fire departments.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The fuel, we all know
Oh,
what
yeah.
that's done, and parts and maintenance and stuff like that. So it's going to be
If they buy a new
difficult.
fire truck, they have that lease payment to make. If they're working on one of their stations, they have, that payment to make.
Yeah,
They really,
I've seen theirs. Theirs are tight. Their budgets are tight. I'm not really looking in that direction. I'm looking because I'm working with the county on the fire district out there. I see how they try to keep their thing. Just letting them know that we're all collaborating or talking about it. But I think to get the large ones that can make a difference on the property tax and just have that meeting, the large ones, not all 40, probably 7 or 8 basically, and have to sit down with them or think about it. Maybe we just need to brainstorm on this a little bit more. But I think I'm getting away from having everybody, just having the major players on this. Now, they're more than welcome, but their budgets are pretty tight as it is.
Well, it's a good start if we all get at least in the same room with the largest entities and talk about property taxes. We might even have Mr. Weber come and kind of give a synopsis of how everything is done. I think sometimes there's confusion on that, and I don't know if that's even true among some elected officials. And but to get everybody on the same page, and maybe not everybody's going to be able to meet the certain goals, but at least we can target and let the folks out there know we're trying to figure out ways on the local level to keep the taxes under control.
Well, it gives the schools the opportunity to explain to, everybody. I don't want this to become a thing about, well, the county told you to do something like that. I know there's some real tight budgets. We're looking at one ourselves this year, but we're still going to be doing some things to help it out. I just think getting the main players in there, and then let's think about what kind of agenda we want. We don't want this to turn about, well, you do this, I'll do that, something like that. That would be not thinking. When you get a large group like that, you've got to have a good agenda that you want to go forward with, so it doesn't turn on you.
And I think Mark was really productive in the way he handled the meeting between us and the county and the city. And if we could have this large meeting turn out as well as that did, it was a very good meeting. Very good meeting.
Well, I think everybody at that meeting wants to do the right thing, and I saw that from conversations, even though we may disagree on some things. Okay, Commissioners, what do you want to do?
Is June a good target?
Well, first of all, do we want to bring it down to just 5 or 6 of the largest taxing entities?
You just want to instead of having the one-on-ones, just have the large meeting. If we try to get around to each city, then have a large one, that's...
It'll take time.
Yeah, so do we just want to skip and just...
Well, I think when you do the one-on-one, it's better because you get to network with somebody and see a face of having a larger group. And that just helps out. That's why I was wanting to look at doing the cities first, but it looks like we won't be able to, and then go to the large one, because then everybody will know. The city of Leavenworth knows exactly now what we're trying to do and what they're trying to do. So having everybody, when you start getting those large groups, it's hard to get that one-on-one time to get something accomplished.
Well, that's why I go to all my Bayshore City Council meetings.
Absolutely.
And this large group would be focused on one issue, which would be the property tax issue. Where when we're meeting with the cities, we're talking about a variety of issues. So I think we should continue.
Maybe we should have the large group meetings first, and then after we get that taken care of, then we can throughout the year meet with the cities.
Yeah, except we probably should go ahead with this Lansing one.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's already scheduled.
But yeah, I agree with that.
And then like Bayshore, Tongy, and Linwood,
Whatever
we could do afterwards if we have this large one. Okay, I'm good with that.
Jeff?
Yeah, time is a factor, so the sooner the better.
We'll still meet with the one on the 26th Lansing, but we'll be looking at June. Is that what I'm hearing?
Probably middle of June.
Yeah, I just need to, like I said, I think your best bet is to pick a date, set a time, schedule it, and then invite the folks that you want to attend. Because trying to coordinate, again, even if you limit it down to 7 or 8 different entities, you still have multiple electeds on each of those entities.
And there probably
So
be some no-shows, too,
It's
Mark.
best to do an invitation. And to be clear what the purpose of the meeting is. And because I don't want there to be I think there could be a misperception that somehow the county believes that these folks don't already judiciously budget their funds.
Absolutely.
That somehow you all are communicating to them that they have the ability to reduce their mill levy because it's overinflated, and that's not the case at all, I would hope.
That's why you're absolutely right.
I think that the message is we just want to talk about the challenges that each entity is faced with, and the way the taxes are set up at the state level that creates challenges for appraisals and people who have homes that they've lived in all their lives when the homes around them are selling for so much more than they were just 5 years ago.
Well, I've seen this as, my take on it was this was an information gathering meeting. It wasn't that we were dictating anything. I just would like to know how they come about doing their budgets.
But
This could be a
Mark's
win-win.
exactly right. I work with every one of these entities. And no one that I'm aware of in Leavenworth County inflates their budgets. And you certainly, I mean, Mark really hit the nail on the head. You certainly don't want to, have any perception that we believe that they are, because
No, and I'm not saying that. I think that, I would like to hear their challenges and their problems that they have, and if there's any solutions. We have problems and challenges too, and we're going to have them this year. I challenge all of you to look at our budget and what we're going to have to do for next year. It's going to be difficult. The government still has the inflation to deal with, just like we have services. We're going to have to look at things. There's going to be some low-hanging fruit that's probably going to have to be cut.
Yeah, I agree. That the whole reason I thought we set this up was just to get to know a face with a name, some of the issues, their challenges they're having with, not to say, you can cut your budget. I think there's a lot of budgets that can be looked at, and the pencil can be sharpened a little bit. And we're asking everybody, that's their thing to do. But I've done budgets for over 30 years, and I always know there's a way to sharpen it a little bit if you do that. But that's not what I was wanting to do. I was wanting us to have a contact with somebody that we could speak to, pick up the phone, and go back and forth. This would also give those entities the opportunity to share some of their issues they've got that may not be getting out to people. They've got issues they're dealing with too. A good example is last election. I've never seen so many people file from a school board in my life. So they've got issues out there too. So this was like with Leavenworth, we didn't solve any things. We talked about stuff that everybody's going on, and that's what I was more than anything wanted these meetings to be about.
And I think from our meeting with the city of Leavenworth, I think part of the reason to have this meeting is to let the citizens know and the folks know that we view this as a very, very serious issue. We know that this is affecting you. We want to sit down with the larger taxing entities, and we can't change the state law. We're operating under the state law on reevaluation. But are there ways we can, as working together, the various taxing entities, maybe during this hard time, when a family is going through hard times, you don't go on vacation. You cut back on eating out. So that's some of the things we may be facing.
No, we're just beginning to face some of the issues that's happening. We're just seeing it every day. It's unbelievable. This country's gotten it like this, but that's my own 2 cents. Okay, so county commissioners, are you all okay with reaching out to a few of them just to have a networking thing sometime in June? See what dates work?
Yeah,
If they're even interested.
And we did mention at the meeting with Leavenworth about the possibility of challenging, try to get everybody to look at a certain percent of being able to reduce the mill levy.
And this by no means doesn't mean they aren't trying to bring it down as well.
Right.
It's just to have your counterpart when we're all in this together, just to know who to talk to, pick up the phone and say, I think it's just a good thing to do for everybody to show that we are doing our best to try to control these outrageous taxes. Mark, are you okay with reaching out just to see sometime in June?
Sure.
They may not even be able to do it. I know it's wide open, but just to see. They may not want to do it in June. They may want to do it in July. August, I don't think they would, but It's their schedule too. We're just making the opportunity available if they want to do it. That's all we're saying. Everybody good?
Pick a date.
Yeah.
Say pick a date, and that's it.
Yeah.
90 days ahead of time, 60 days ahead of time, release, and we got it. And Jeff will be putting up hay then.
Okay.
Make hay when you can make hay. I got one thing
Go ahead,
too.
Jeff.
Okay, so like I said last week, I think, bear with me, I wrote this out and I wore the wrong glasses today, so this might get a little sloppy. Like I said last week, I think we should address these taxation issues each week in a public meeting to try and help our constituents understand how things work. One of the biggest misconceptions we addressed last week was where we were told that the BOCC tells the county appraiser to raise values if we want more money for the county. If that were true, we would just simply make a motion to tell the appraiser to freeze or lower values. And I had, as the DVP, our counselor explained, the county counselor explained this, that we do not have the authority to tell the appraiser anything to do with values. He is controlled by the state of Kansas. So since we had that meeting, I had a couple dozen people reach out to me and say thank you for doing that, because we didn't actually even know that. We thought you guys controlled the appraiser, which controls the values. But I did have a few people that thought we were laughing at our constituents, but that is not the case at all. This is not a funny situation. It's most serious. We saw this coming over a year ago, and we've been working very hard to use what little influence we have to both try and educate the people on how this works and also work with our state leaders in finding a solution. One of the things we saw this coming, so one of the things we knew could help relieve this was the LAVTR funds. So we've been working with our state legislators to try to get those back to try to help this situation. The only part we did laugh at is when the county councilor told Doug and I that if we were to make such a motion to freeze the values, that we would personally have to pay the state the difference between the frozen values and the current market value. Doug and I couldn't withdraw our motions quick enough, but that is in no way mocking or laughing at our constituents. The system is not working, but killing the messenger isn't going to fix the problem either. The county appraiser is only the messenger telling you what your fair market value is. The county is only the messenger telling you how much you owe in taxes to all the entities that actually get your money. Only about 27% of what you pay on your tax bill goes to the county. The county has no control over 73% of the mill levy that you pay. So even if we were to lower our 27%, it won't make a lot of difference on your tax bill. But every little bit helps, so we're definitely going to do what we can do on our 27% to help the situation. So today I picked the system itself to talk about. If it were up to us, we wouldn't even use this system the state makes us use. Instead of using mostly property taxes to pay for everything, I would simply make a motion that we use sales tax or income tax. The system the state uses especially hurts older retired folks on fixed incomes. I understand they thought the best way to make sure everyone pays their fair share of taxes should be relative to their financial capabilities. How nice a person's house they own is used to measure that. A person that lives in a $300,000 house should be able to afford to pay twice as much taxes as a person that lives in a $150,000 house. But the problem with that is when you worked your whole life and could afford a nice house, your income was different than when you retire. So now you might have a really nice house, but you don't make as much money as you used to. The system not only doesn't account for that, it makes it a bigger problem. People are being taxed out of their homes. How did we get here? So in 1988, I was working in the appraiser's office when reappraisal came along. Reappraisal was the state's way of fixing a problem. The problem was a person that bought a property in 1930 for $30,000 was still paying taxes in 1988 on a $30,000 valuation, when in fact their house was worth $300,000. But a person that just built a house in 1988 was assessed at $200,000. So the appraisals were not fair and equitable. So the state told all 105 counties to go through a reappraisal system and reappraise every single property to current market value. That way everyone paid their fair share. They passed laws telling the county they have to have a county appraiser and that the appraiser has to keep current market value on each property every single year. They passed a whole string of laws on how the appraiser will do this. And Property Valuation Department in Topeka audits every county appraiser every 3 months to make sure all his values are within 10% of what they actually sell for. Since CAMA is a computer-assisted mass appraisal system, there's always room for errors. They don't go inside every house for obvious reasons, so there could be some issues that need to be addressed. That's what the hearing process is for, to take care of any issues that the mass appraisal system might have created. But as far as the Board of County Commissioners making sure the appraiser is doing his job, Property Valuation Department does that. They do it quarterly to make sure he is applying their system as accurately as possible, since it is their system. Even ag land values are not come up with by the county appraiser. The state of Kansas tells the county appraiser what ag land values are. So today I'm just trying to point out the state makes us use this system. We did not pick this system. If it were up to me, I wouldn't use this system. That's all I got.
Even your ag ground is confusing because it's an 8-year average.
Yeah.
So
they have.
you had a good crop 8 years ago and you have bad now, and your taxes could still go up. And then, the rent.
There's a lag.
Based on the
Yep.
rent on it.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, the rent.
And the theory was it would be more stable if you used an 8-year average.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the Manhattan, K-State crunch statistics on animal units per acre, cropland, soil types, et cetera, et cetera.
Cash rent.
Yeah.
And then which is broke out into northeast Kansas, southeast.
Yeah. And then every year they drop off the 8th older year and add in the new year information. So if you have a volatile, unstable market, it kind of softens that by using an 8-year average. But my point is, the county doesn't even come up with your ag values. The state tells us what your ag land values are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, Mike.
I wanted to read an excerpt from, I have 3 different letters from different constituents. Just an excerpt. We are being taxed out of our home. Last year our taxes were $5,789 compared to $2,714 when we built our house. That's an excerpt from one letter. This is an excerpt from a senior citizen. But my wife still works, but I'm retired on a fixed income. My house payment has jumped to almost $100 per month. Anything you can do would be greatly appreciated. Then a third letter from another constituent down by Linwood. When we first bought our house, our property taxes were under $1,000. But now our property taxes are between $4,000 and $5,000. So I think the system in Topeka is really messed up. And just one thing, I prepared this and I showed the county councilor. It's a property tax sheet that I've been questions and answers given to some constituents. And one of the frequently asked questions is, what is the role of the county commissioners in relation to the county appraiser? Answer, the county commissioners are responsible for appointing a qualified county appraiser from a list of candidates who have met the educational and statutory requirements as outlined in state law. Selection is made from a state-approved list. The county commission does not have authority over the day-to-day operation of the appraiser's office. The county appraiser is governed by statute and state administrative regulations promulgated by the Kansas Department of Revenue and administered by the Division of Property Valuation. The county commissioners appoint them, but they are overseen by the state. And the reason the state is so concerned about the oversight is that office is responsible primarily for the funding of public education. And that primarily the majority of the money from that office, and that valuation directly affects the largest amount that we spend, because and the state is very concerned that public education be financed. So what Jeff said about the county's part, even if we would zero out, you may not see much of a change on your property tax bill based on the way this system is set up. So I just hope our legislators, and I would hope at this larger meeting, one thing is I hope our legislators are invited to attend, because that is where it needs to change.
And we're not definitely trying to turn this into a war between the county and the state legislators. We're asking for their help.
Right.
We're not slamming over their help. Yeah, we're not saying it's their fault. We're saying, how do we fix this? We need to work together to get this fixed.
Right. And your constituents are like me. We have part of Tonganoxie School District and part of Basic. Both of them have new school bonds. So I see where their tax increases are. And then your Linwood area has had some really high appraisals, or increases, percentage.
Yeah. And a new school.
And a new school.
Okay, Jeff, do you have anything else? Any other?
I just want to disclose that 3 commissioners did show up at a meeting Saturday night. Was not aware that Commissioner Stevens was going to be there. But we did not discuss any business. We didn't. In fact, I don't think I even spoke to you.
No, I spoke to him. He came
okay,
over.
well,
I didn't see you. I saw you,
but we were not. We didn't sit at the same table. All 3 of us did not sit at the same table. We were there. The Attorney General was there, also the county attorney. So I feel pretty confident that we didn't violate anything. So,
Mark,
it was a good event.
Mark, did you have anything under administrative business? Okay, we'll go to consent agenda. Anything that needs to be pulled off? If not, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Yes, thank you. Okay, formal board action. Consider a motion to appoint a trustee to Reno Township.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we appoint Kirk Sowers to be the township trustee for the remainder of the term.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Very good.
I'll contact Mr. Sowers, and actually, they have a meeting this evening.
Good. Okay.
That
That worked out well.
Very good timing, guys. Very good timing.
Well, thank him for his willingness to serve.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on. Presentation discussions. Quarterly reports. Council on Aging. Come on down. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioners, it's been a busy Q1 at the Council on Aging. I know you've had an opportunity to look at the report as presented, but just hitting a few highlights. We've served just over 19,000 meals so far this quarter. That's about 500 meals more than we served at this time last year. Continue with just incredible growth in the southern end of the county, especially in Tonganoxie, as far as Meals on Wheels are concerned. During that first quarter, we transitioned about 89 folks off of Meals on Wheels. We have an annual assessment that we do. Some folks who are on meals for a short time come off because they're healthier, but we had 89 folks who either passed away, relocated, changed their placements, or got better. And then we put 74 new clients on those routes. So as soon as we lose someone, there's someone else to go right back on. Interesting development in terms of our transportation. We've provided just almost 2,200 trips. For the first time since the pandemic began, our transportation for medical decreased. It's usually running just over 50% of our trips are for medical. In March, it was 43%. So that indicates to us that folks are getting out for different reasons. They're going back to the hairdresser. They're, going shopping, feeling good about moving about the county a little bit more freely, and we're taking less folks to hospitals and things like that.
That's a good number when it goes down.
Yes, that's a great thing for us. So less trips out of the county, more trips in the county, and a lot more fun. In terms of budget, our approved budget's just over $2.6 million. We've expended just about $770,000. just slightly over 25% gas. Gas. We didn't budget for $3.70 or whatever it is. So working to cut back in other areas to make up for that shortfall. But good news, though, we have received about 50% of our expected revenue by the end of Q1. So $1.2 million has come in as that revenue received. One of the big things that we were really working on was to make sure that we increase the number of people who were getting to the Council on Aging. That's been a goal. After a complete shutdown, we really wanted to reconnect with those who were coming regularly, but we wanted to also engage a different group of folks who hadn't tried us out yet. So in Q1, we've seen about 80 people we've never seen before. So trying out the Council on Aging for the first time. Interestingly, that 32% of those are 50 to 69. So a little bit different age group, but that was part of a plan to get folks there. We're offering exercise 5 days a week. We've got some things that are happening on Saturdays now, and I think we're hoping that the new branding is helping to kind of get rid of that stigma that I have to be old to come to the Council on Aging. You don't. You just have to be 50. So there's that. Other great news, we've applied for 11 grants this year, totaling $82,000. As of the end of March, we've received 7 of those. So we've brought in just over $59,000 in grants that we applied for from local entities. And I have about $23,000 left that we're waiting to hear in April. So we're really proud of that, those extra funds and the work with the grant writing. And that touched nearly every department at the Council on Aging, from transportation to Meals on Wheels to our frail and elderly program. So that was really, really great. And then we've secured our fundraising for the rest of the year to make sure that we meet the rest of that revenue target that we're hoping to bring in. You can see those dates there. Still working to make sure that we get ourselves shifted to a more digital approach with how we work with our clients and get the word out about the Council on Aging. You approved the purchase of some software, some client software. We're looking at a July 1 launch for that. And then we were able to use some of the funds that we received as grant funds to purchase some video conferencing capabilities and some equipment. So what we're hoping to do is close the distance between Leavenworth and Tonganoxie Base or Linwood, and be able to market some of the events that happen just in Leavenworth to all parts of the county. Like, we have doctors who give their time to come out and talk at the Council on Aging. We want to make sure that all of those are available for folks in other parts of the county, so we'll be doing some live streaming of all of those events in those other areas. And then we're working to move. Working on a furniture bid, planning for that additional space. Folks are getting really excited about that move. It's just about every day that somebody asks me about it from the community and what it's going to be like. I think everybody's looking forward to that move. But we hope to have that next furniture bid ready to go by May 1st, and just want to praise Aaron Yoakum for the incredible work that he's doing as project manager on that, and how he keeps me informed about everything that's happening there, and he's a great partner. So
All right.
that's what's happening.
Okay. Commissioners?
You know, she's having some difficulties with the fuel prices and all that. I'm just glad that the vehicle fleet got upgraded so they do get better mileage than the older fleets had.
Yeah, and several of those grants we received helped with that as well. Keep their prices low.
So the July 16th could be a gas benefit concert.
Yes. Yes.
Sounds like it might need to be done.
That's going to be a gas.
It's going to be a gas.
That's a good slogan. Way to go. Anybody else? Always pleased to see this report. This is great, Connie. Thank you.
Thanks. We need to appoint somebody to the advisory board.
I think you did on the consent
It's on the
agenda.
consent agenda.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Okay, Crystal, come on down. Planning and zoning, good morning.
You are the next
Ready, Crystal?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
This is the one we've been waiting for. I meant it because it's the
Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting
It didn't sound that way, did it, Crystal?
I don't know.
We're so glad you're here.
Didn't need anything
I
else.
think my phone is ringing in my office.
Probably need to call him.
Commissioners, I will go through this briefly. We spend a lot of time together, so I think you're very familiar with what we are doing. We did recently update the comprehensive plan, as you all know, or we reviewed the comprehensive plan and took no action. Staff has also made some amendments to our regulations. We're continuing to make amendments to the regulations. We are working very hard on getting things in order so that it is streamlined, so that it is clear that inconsistencies within those regulations are being taken out. I will say at one point in time we had discussed internally about hiring a consulting firm to help us write new regulations, which is kind of the status quo. But with our staff being with our office being fully staffed for the first time in a long time, being staffed with pretty talented people, not including myself necessarily, we are able to do that on our own. And I think it's coming along really well. I'm really proud of my staff for how well they've been doing that. And,
Well, I think you should include yourself. Don't you consider yourself
Well,
very
I
talented? I think
don't,
you're very talented.
Leadership.
You do a good job.
Thank you. Can't do it without them, that's for sure. So you will continue to see text amendments. We're trying to kind of bunch them together in groups so that you don't get one every single month, but instead we get several every few months. I'm really happy with the way that that's going. As you know, we've made a few changes to the processes in our office. That's going well. Also, we have a work session with you all today on wind energy regulations. That's something that we've been discussing. I think we are just very near the end of being able to get those moving forward with the adoption process. We are also in the process of adopting our sign regulations to ensure that those are coming into conformity with recent decisions made by the United States Supreme Court. I want to make sure we are in line with that, certainly. And I think that's all. Like I said, we have a lot going on, but we see each other pretty frequently, so I'll certainly answer any questions.
Question?
Do you see as many plats coming in this year as we did last year?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, we definitely are. We're very, very busy with land development out in Leavenworth County. There's no doubt about it. I can pull those numbers specifically and get them out to you. But
No, that's all. I just I was concerned. You hear a lot about interest rates going up, and they have quite a bit. I just, 'cause
But yeah, we've got lots of them in. We are on pace right now. Last year we had over 200 development cases, which was the first time in nearly, I think, ever, but I've been here for nearly 8 years, and we've never seen that many. And this year we are on pace to be right there again, if not to exceed.
And more building permits with lumber prices 500% higher than the previous year when they were 500% lower. It's insane.
insane. But look at the sales tax. Well, the state's got, that helped the state's budget also.
Which trickles down. But it's just crazy to me that people are spending 500% more on lumber. It hasn't even slowed the permits
Let's not point
down.
that out. Because we need them folks coming to Leavenworth County. Then we want people coming here and living here.
It's a good thing.
We're
It's
gonna
just
help
unbelievable.
share
It's a great place to
paying
be.
the bills.
Jeff, have you had to purchase some lumber?
Yeah, you can tell. Huh?
That's what I was saying. Okay. Yeah, Mike.
This issue of the agricultural tourism and our position with the SUPs, is that something we're actively looking into, or where are we at with that?
Yes, I believe we have discussed having a work session with you all. And I know Mr. Van Pierce has looked into this, and I will let him expand on that further if you'd like.
If you turn to page 4 of the report, I think that says it all.
I don't think that says much.
Oh, Jesus.
Commissioner, the issue of agritourism is relatively new to the state of Kansas. There's extremely limited. In fact, there's only one court case rule I'm aware of, and it was dealt with a codes court case in Johnson County. So it's unplowed ground as far as any legal guidance for the county. The wording of the legislation that creates it is very, very broad, and given the state policy on agriculture, I think the county needs to broadly interpret those statutes. At the same time, it's not a carte blanche justification to claim agritourism for any event or facility or operation that has some very tenuous tie to agriculture.
So are you confident that the current in place SUP requirements that we have are consistent with state law?
I'm confident that they are as consistent as they can be at this time.
Okay, second question I have has to do with temporary special use permits. And when you have an organization that if a nonprofit organization or organization asks for a temporary special use permit, what would be the line at which you would trigger the need for a special use permit? For example, church youth group, for example, community organization, Boy Scouts. Where does it trigger that we then ask that they have a special use permit? Is it the impact on the usage of the roads? Is it the impact to the neighbors? What triggers that? And what are some of the things you look at?
Sure. So I think first we can start with if it's a religious organization, it is protected by the United States Constitution. There's no doubt about it. It's very clear. The Supreme Court has been incredibly clear about that. Our office, as far as church youth groups and such go, we have never required temporary special use permits for gatherings of youth groups, for gatherings of Bible studies. We have a few out in the county where we know there are pretty large gatherings of youth groups and Bible studies and such in private homes, on private property, and we have never required temporary special use permits for those. I believe that is the best policy. As far as organizations go, we do have temporary special use permit process that I think is pretty well outlined that this board has agreed upon when it is required. Oftentimes when it is being opened up when they're charging a fee, they are advertising in a commercial manner. And if there's going to be substantial traffic or noise being generated at a property that would be, we have one coming forward here recently. It's for potentially it's for a rodeo. That is not that's not protected, as a religious event. It is something that can be granted through a temporary special use permit.
But if he said it was a religious event, then that would become protected under this.
If it were a church or a recognized religious organization, then potentially, yes, I certainly don't want to go down a quagmire here of what ifs. But we do have a process in place for temporary special use permits. I think it's a good process. It is tested by the Board of County Commissioners several times, and I think it's a good process. And I also believe that the direction we've been given on religious organizations is good advice and something that we should continue to follow.
If there was a camping overnight, would that trigger anything as far as change of requirement for a special use permit?
We have Boy Scouts of America. We know they do camping events out throughout the county. We know that one particular youth group out in the county does lock-ins, and granted that's inside of a building. However, it is a lock-in event. We've never required temporary special use permits for them. If there's camping overnight, and that has been shown to our office to be part of a religious event because of activities that are taking place, the way that a particular group is demonstrating their religious beliefs, then no, we would not require temporary special
Thank you.
Very clear. Okay, anything else for Crystal? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very soon.
An executive session. What do we need on that?
Chairman, I'd ask that the board consider going into an executive session to discuss legal matter. I believe you've been provided with a copy of a proposed motion.
How long?
15 minutes.
Give me a
I don't have a.
Okay, I'll read it. I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of pending litigation involving the legal interests of the county as justified by KSA 75-43 19B for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume open meeting at 10:15 a.m. in the meeting room of the board. President of the executive session will be Commissioners CULBERTSON, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, STIEBEN, Senior County Counselor David Van Paris, and County Administrator Mark LOUGHRY.
What was the time you gave, Mike? I'm sorry.
10:15.
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Oh, I thought.
25.
25 minutes. I need
No,
that.
10:05. 10:05.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll second it. Any discussion? None. I'll call the roll.
And Commissioner, once again, it's my duty to go in there, but I just had some concerns. Stuff leaks out of our executive sessions.
Well, hopefully we fix that. I understand, no doubt. I'll start the roll call. Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Doug Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Mike Stevens? Okay.
Okay, let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:05. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county.
All righty. I don't think there's any additional public comment, so I'll start going around the room. Jeff, do you have anything to go to the group?
No, just had Leavenworth City Commission meeting last night. That's about it.
I got a couple things. I attended a ribbon cutting yesterday in Lansing for Integrative Pain and Injury Center over on Eisenhower. I'd like to see the businesses continue to come to our county. Again, we've talked about that meeting, and we've locked in a date at May 26th for the city of Lansing at their place. I'll let y'all know a time later and make sure. Try and get it earlier at 6, and we'll see. Of course, the city of Lansing's going forward on a lot of improvements at their last meeting on Bernard Park, to park off 4H Road, which is new ball fields, do something like that. It's going to be good. It takes time, but they're moving forward with that. Doug?
I just have Bayshore City Council tonight, and then we have the Southern Leavenworth County leadership at 1 o'clock downstairs, conference room.
That's a good thing. Mike?
Talking to a lot of people about taxes, and then we had a little issue on Cantrell Road that has been resolved with the rock.
Mark, you and Dave have anything? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Stevens? We are adjourned.